The massive ships of the Galactic Confederation appeared in Earth's sky without warning. They hung above major cities like dark clouds, their metal hulls reflecting sunlight. Each ship was bigger than any building humans had ever made. People looked up with fear and wonder. "They are at least 5 kilometers long," whispered General Park as he studied the readings. "Our biggest weapons would barely scratch their paint." The world's leaders gathered quickly. After years of fighting among themselves, they now faced something that made their differences seem small. They formed a unified response team, with Hannah Lee chosen as Earth's voice. Hannah was known for her calm thinking under pressure. At 42, she had helped solve conflicts between nations that others thought impossible. But nothing had prepared her for aliens. The first message from the ships came 3 days after they arrived. It was simple. "We will speak with your leaders." A meeting place was set up in Geneva. Security teams worked nonstop. But everyone knew if the aliens wanted to harm them, no amount of guards would help. The aliens called themselves the Varians. Their leader, Ambassador Tusk, stood nearly 3 meters tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer. 4 arms moved with perfect grace as he spoke through a device that translated his clicks and whistles. "We represent the Galactic Confederation," Tusk announced to the room of human leaders. "Hundreds of species united under common rule and protection. We have watched your planet for some time." Hannah stepped forward. "We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations," she said. "We hope to learn from each other as equals." Tusk made a sound that the translator didn't catch. The other aliens with him shifted in what seemed like amusement. "Equals," Tusk finally said. "Your species still burns fossil fuels. Your fastest ships would take lifetimes to reach even your nearest star. You fight over patches of land and invisible borders." He placed a small device on the table that projected a 3D map of the galaxy. "The Confederation spans thousands of systems. We need the resources of your planet. In return, we offer protection from other, less understanding species." Hannah read between the lines. "You're asking us to give up our freedom." "We are offering you survival," Tusk corrected. "You will maintain control of your internal affairs. We simply require 30% of your planet's mineral output and exclusive rights to your outer solar system." The human delegates whispered among themselves. Some thought the terms were reasonable given the aliens' obvious power. Others saw it as the beginning of slavery. Hannah spoke again. "Earth wishes to join your confederation, but as a full member with equal rights and protections. We believe we have much to offer beyond raw materials." That was when the laughter started. At first, it was just Tusk, a strange bubbling sound. Then his entire delegation joined in. The sound was deeply unsettling to the humans present. "Equal rights," Tusk said when he recovered. "What could you possibly offer? Your technology is primitive. Your understanding of physics is basic. Your most advanced vessels couldn't even reach Alpha Centauri without your fragile bodies withering away. What possible value could you bring to the Confederation?" Video of the meeting leaked online, despite security efforts. People worldwide watched aliens mock humanity. Fear spread, then anger, then despair. The Confederation's ships remained in orbit, a constant reminder of their power. Tusk gave Earth 30 days to accept their terms. After that, he warned, "We will be forced to demonstrate why cooperation is in your best interest." In public, world leaders debated what to do. Most favored acceptance, seeing no alternative. Military leaders admitted their weapons were useless against the alien ships. But far from public view, something else was happening. 4 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean floor, in a facility unknown to most of humanity, Admiral Du Jin received the signal he had both feared and prepared for his entire career. "Activation code confirmed," said the computer voice. "Project Guardian status change. Dormant to active." Du Jin looked at the room of officers around him. They'd trained for this moment for years, some for decades. Now it was real. "Begin power-up sequence," he ordered. "Alert all hidden bases worldwide." Similar scenes played out in the Mariana Trench, under the Antarctic ice, inside hollow mountains, and on the far side of the moon. Facilities built in total secrecy were coming to life. After the first possible alien signal was detected in 2037, a small group of nations had quietly begun preparing. While public space programs focused on the Moon and Mars, these secret projects looked much further ahead. In underground hangars, spacecraft unlike anything seen in public waited. Their designs incorporated technology that official science said was impossible. Some had been built using information from crashed alien scouts that governments had kept hidden for decades. Across the world, people who had seemingly normal jobs received coded messages. Engineers, pilots, soldiers, and scientists disappeared from their homes, reporting to hidden facilities. "How long until the fleet is ready?" Du Jin asked his operations chief. "Main vessels will be fully powered in 72 hours, came the reply. The Lunar Division reports similar timing. Du Jin nodded. For now, they would let the aliens think humanity was weak and divided. Let them believe their victory was certain. On the surface, Hannah Lee continued negotiations, playing for time without appearing to do so. She showed just enough resistance to seem natural, but gave the impression that Earth would eventually submit. "Your people are learning wisdom," Tusk told her during their 5th meeting. "Acceptance is the first step toward finding your proper place in the galactic order." Hannah bowed slightly, hiding her true thoughts. "We simply wish to ensure the best future for our children." What the aliens couldn't see were the ancient facilities coming alive. Systems dormant for decades powered up. Weapons were loaded. Ships prepared for launch. Humanity had a secret fleet, and soon, the Galactic Confederation would learn what happens when you underestimate humans. Admiral Ta Kim walked through the underwater base with steady steps despite his age. At 78, his hair had gone white long ago, but his mind remained sharp. The lighting in the command center glowed blue, giving everyone's face an otherworldly look as they worked at their stations. "Status report," he said, his voice still strong after decades of giving orders. "All systems coming online, sir," said Major June, his second in command. "We're at 60% power and rising." Ta nodded. For 40 years, he had led Project Guardian in secret. It had started as a small program after strange signals came from the edge of the solar system in 2037. Back then, most people thought it was just space noise. A few scientists knew better. 6 nations had started the project together, pooling their best minds and resources, while keeping the public focused on regular space missions to the Moon and Mars. Those missions were real, but they also provided perfect cover for the real work happening in secret. "The aliens have set up their first mining base on Mars," reported Captain Sun from the intelligence desk. She pointed to images on her screen. "They're moving fast. 3 more ships arrived in the asteroid belt yesterday." Tai studied the images. The aliens wasted no time claiming Earth's resources. Their ships tore through the asteroid belt, breaking down the space rocks for minerals. They treated Earth's formal protests like a child's complaints. "And their opinion of us?" Tai asked. Sun's face hardened. "Not good, sir. We intercepted communications between Ambassador Tusk and their high command. They refer to humans as docile primitives and barely sentient labor resources." Todd wasn't surprised. This matched what their planning team had predicted years ago. Powerful civilizations rarely respected less advanced ones. Human history had taught them that lesson many times. "It's time," Ta said, making his decision. "Initiate Shadow Protocol." The command center buzzed with new energy as the order went out. Shadow Protocol was the emergency production and deployment plan they had practiced for decades, but never actually used. Around the world, things began to happen. In remote deserts, mountains, and oceans, hidden facilities powered up to full capacity. What looked like ordinary mining operations in Australia, Canada, and Brazil revealed their true purpose as massive manufacturing centers. Workers who had trained for years while believing they were part of backup military units suddenly found themselves activated. They reported to locations they had memorized but never visited. Under the ocean floor, massive 3D printers began creating parts for ships and weapons, designed with technology far beyond what was publicly known. Some of this tech came from studying the crashed alien scout ship found in Siberia decades ago. Other advances came from brilliant human minds, working without the limitations of public science or profit motives. "Sir, the Varians have ignored our latest diplomatic message," reported the communications officer. "They've begun construction of what appears to be a military base on the far side of the moon." Tai frowned. "They're moving faster than expected. What about their scans of Earth?" "Still superficial," said Major June. "They're focusing on mapping our visible military and industrial sites. They haven't detected any of our hidden facilities." This was critical. The entire Guardian strategy depended on secrecy. Earth's public military tech was indeed no match for the aliens. But what they had built in secret was another matter entirely. "Show me the satellite grid status," Tad ordered. A large screen lit up showing Earth orbit. Thousands of dots represented the satellites circling the planet. Most were marked in blue, ordinary communications, weather, and observation satellites. A smaller number glowed red. These were the public military satellites that the aliens could easily see. "They've cataloged all the red ones," said the orbital officer. "They've even destroyed 3 of them as a demonstration of their power." Ta nodded. "And our actual defense grid." The officer touched his screen, and suddenly hundreds of green dots appeared among what had previously been marked as space junk or defunct satellites. 100% operational and undetected, he said with pride. "Some are disguised as debris. Others are built into civilian satellites. The aliens have scanned right past them multiple times." This was the brilliant deception at the heart of Project Guardian. While the world's governments publicly developed and deployed obvious military satellites, the real defensive systems were hidden in plain sight. Meanwhile, the aliens continued to expand their presence in the solar system. They landed teams on Mars and began building structures. Their massive ships tore through the asteroid belt. Each day, they seemed more confident that humans would accept their terms. In his private quarters that night, Tay reviewed the production reports from around the world. Manufacturing was at maximum capacity. The first fleet vessels would be ready in days, not weeks as originally planned. On his desk sat an old photo of his family from before he had joined the project. His wife had passed years ago. His children had grown up barely knowing him due to his classified work. He sometimes wondered if the sacrifice had been worth it. The communication panel on his wall blinked. It was Hannah Lee, calling from Geneva. "Admiral, the negotiations are failing," she said, her face tense but controlled. "Tusk is growing impatient. Today he suggested they might need to demonstrate their seriousness with actions against a small city." Tay's jaw tightened. "How long can you stall them?" "A week at most," Hannah replied. "They're beginning to suspect I'm playing for time." "Keep them talking," Ta said. "We'll be ready sooner than planned." After ending the call, Ta stood at his window, looking out into the dark ocean waters surrounding the base. For 40 years, he had prepared for this moment, hoping it would never come. Now it was here. Humanity had one chance to surprise the aliens who thought them weak. Everything depended on maintaining that illusion for just a little longer. The mood was grim in the United Nations Emergency Chamber. Ambassador Tusk stood before Earth's gathered leaders, his blue skin reflecting harshly under the lights. His 4 arms were held in what humans now recognized as a position of dominance. "Your time for discussion has ended," Tusk announced. "The Confederation requires your answer. Accept our terms or face consequences." The world leaders looked at each other with hidden desperation. For 3 months, they had tried to negotiate better terms while secretly preparing. Now the aliens had lost patience. "We need more time to consider," said President Min. "Our planet has many nations with different needs." Tusk made a sharp clicking sound that his translator didn't convert. "You have had sufficient time. Your delays test our patience. You have 48 hours to submit to our resource quotas, or we will demonstrate our power on one of your major cities. The threat hung in the air. No one doubted the aliens could do it. Their ships had weapons that could destroy entire cities from orbit. Which city? Asked Chancellor Wu, her voice barely steady. That, said Tusk with what might have been a smile, is for us to know and you to fear. After Tusk left, the world leaders moved to a secure room where they could speak freely. It's time, said President Min. We can't wait any longer. General Kang nodded. Admiral Ta reports the fleet is ready. Not as complete as we hoped, but enough. Will it be enough? Asked Chancellor Wu. No one answered. No one knew. That night, as the final hours ticked away, Admiral Ta Kim gave the order from his underwater command center. Initiate Operation Reveal, he said simply. Across the world, hidden facilities sprang into action. Massive hangar doors opened underwater. Mountain sides slid apart. On the far side of the moon, a vast hidden base activated launch systems. Inside the main Varian ship, a junior officer rushed into Tusk's private chamber. Ambassador, our sensors are detecting massive energy spikes from all over the Earth. Tusk moved quickly to the command center. The main screen showed alerts flashing all over the planet. What is happening? He demanded. Unknown energy signatures, sir, said the science officer. They're coming from the oceans, from underground facilities, and from the far side of the moon. Impossible, said Tusk. Our scans showed no significant bases on the moon. Then they saw them. Rising from the oceans came ships, human ships, but unlike anything Earth had ever publicly shown. They were sleek and darkly metallic, with no visible engines or weapons ports. More vessels emerged from hidden mountain bases and desert facilities. How many? Tusk asked, his voice tight. We're counting. Over 300 vessels and rising, the officer replied. Weapons status? Unknown, sir. Our scans can't penetrate their hulls. From the dark side of the moon came even more ships, larger vessels that clearly served as the fleet's capital ships. They moved with impossible speed, covering the distance to Earth orbit in minutes rather than hours. Their propulsion technology, whispered the science officer. It's not using conventional drives. It's some form of space-folding technology we've only theorized about. Tusk stared at the screen in growing horror as the human fleet took formation. Within minutes, the Confederation ships were surrounded. Impossible, he whispered. Their technology is beyond even our theoretical research. A communication request came through. On the screen appeared Admiral Ta Kim, his aged face calm and determined. This is Admiral Ta Kim of Earth's Guardian Fleet. Your threats against our planet end now. Tusk tried to regain his composure. This is unexpected, but you still cannot match our firepower. Test that theory if you wish, Tay replied evenly. The ship to your left is the ESS Defender. I suggest you fire upon it. Tusk paused, sensing a trap, but he needed to know what they were facing. He ordered a low-power weapons test against the human vessel. The Varian beam struck the human ship and was absorbed completely. The ship's hull seemed to shimmer for a moment, then returned to normal. As you can see, said Admiral Tai, your weapons are ineffective against our adaptive hull technology. Now, allow me to demonstrate our capabilities. A small human vessel moved forward and fired a precisely targeted beam at the Varian ship. The beam cut through their shields like they weren't there and disabled their main weapon system without causing any other damage. That was a warning, said Ta. We could have targeted your life support or command systems just as easily. In orbit around Mars, more human ships appeared suddenly, surrounding the Varian mining operations. Similar reports came in from the asteroid belt. How did they deploy so quickly? Demanded Tusk. The science officer studied the readings with disbelief. They appear to be using some form of controlled wormhole technology for near-instantaneous travel. Tusk felt cold fear for the first time in his life. His species had conquered dozens of worlds, always meeting primitive resistance that was quickly overcome. Never had they encountered a species that appeared weak but concealed such advanced technology. "Where did you get this technology?" Tusk asked Admiral Ta. Tay's face showed no emotion. "In 2042, one of your scout ships crashed in our ocean. We recovered it. We studied it. We improved upon it. While you watched our public space program and mocked our primitive rockets, we built this fleet in secret. Around the world, humans looked up at the night sky and saw flashes of light as the human fleet moved into position around the alien ships. News spread quickly. Earth had a secret fleet, one that could stand against the invaders. In homes and public squares, people watched their screens as Admiral Tai delivered his message to the aliens and to humanity. For decades, we prepared in secret, knowing that the universe might not be friendly. Today, we stand revealed not as the primitives you believed us to be, but as equals who demand respect." In the Confederation flagship, Tusk stared at the sensor readings showing hundreds of human ships surrounding his fleet. He had made a terrible mistake. He had judged an entire species by what they had shown the galaxy, never suspecting they might be hiding their true strength. "Your orders, Ambassador?" asked his second-in-command. Tusk was silent for a long moment. Everything had changed in the span of minutes. The easy conquest he had promised the Confederation Council would now be a humiliating defeat, or worse. "Open a channel," he finally said. "It seems we need to renegotiate." The stars seemed to shimmer as the human and alien fleets faced each other in Earth orbit. Admiral Ta stood on the bridge of the ESS Protector, his flagship. The large view screen showed the Confederation vessels surrounded by Earth ships. "Open broadcast channels," Tay ordered. "All frequencies, all languages we've decoded from their transmissions." Captain G of the communications station nodded. "Ready, sir." Ta straightened his uniform and looked directly at the camera. His message would be seen not just by the aliens in orbit, but across their entire network. Earth had been secretly tapping into their communication systems for years. "This is Admiral Ta Kim of Earth's Guardian Fleet. For decades, we prepared while keeping our capabilities hidden. We studied your civilizations through intercepted transmissions. We know your weaknesses. Return to your territory and recognize Earth as a sovereign power, or we will demonstrate capabilities you cannot match." On the Confederation flagship, Tusk watched the human admiral with growing dread. His staff officers moved frantically around him, trying to find a way out of their suddenly desperate situation. "The smaller ships on the outer ring are moving," reported his tactical officer. "They're closing the net." "Order all ships to battle formation," Tusk commanded. "We still outnumber them in raw firepower." The Confederation vessels began to move, trying to form a defensive cluster. For a moment, it seemed they might break through the human blockade. Their engines flared bright as they pushed to maximum power. But the human ships moved with shocking speed and precision. They didn't just react to the alien maneuvers, they anticipated them. "How are they predicting our movements?" Tusk demanded. His intelligence officer looked up from her station, face pale. "They must have been studying our tactical manuals. The movements they're countering are standard Confederation formations." Aboard the Protector, Tai watched calmly as the alien ships tried to regroup. "They're using formation pattern Delta 6, said Major Su, the tactical officer. "Just as our simulations predicted." "Deploy gravity anchors," Tai ordered. From the smaller human vessels, strange devices launched toward the Confederation ships. They didn't look like weapons, more like small satellites. As they neared the alien vessels, they activated. On Tusk's ship, alarms blared. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Our engines are not responding," the engineering officer reported. "Something is creating a localized gravity well around our ships. We can't move." One by one, the Confederation ships found themselves frozen in space, unable to maneuver. The gravity anchors created fields that neutralized their engines without damaging the ships themselves. Tusk saw his chance slipping away. The flagship can still move. Our gravity shields are stronger. Set course away from Earth. We need to report this to the Council." His massive ship turned, and its engines flared brilliant blue as it accelerated, attempting to escape the trap. Admiral Ta watched this with an almost sad expression. "They always run," he said quietly. Then, louder, "Deploy the interceptor." From behind the moon appeared a single ship, smaller than the others, but with a distinctive arrow-like shape. It moved with impossible speed, covering the distance to the fleeing flagship in seconds rather than minutes. Tusk stared in disbelief as the human vessel suddenly appeared directly in front of his ship, blocking its path. "How?" he whispered. "No ship can accelerate that fast." His science officer looked up from her instruments. "It's not just acceleration. They're bending space somehow, creating micro-wormholes to jump ahead." The small human ship held position, facing the much larger Confederation flagship. A communication came through. "This is Captain Moon of the ESS Swift Arrow. You will power down your engines and return to Earth orbit, or we will disable your ship. You have 30 seconds to comply." Tusk felt rage build inside him. They dare. Target all weapons on that small ship and fire. The flagship's weapons came to life, energy beams and projectiles streaming toward the human vessel. But the swift arrow moved with impossible precision, evading some attacks while its hull absorbed others without damage. Then it fired a single shot. The beam hit the flagship's engine section with surgical precision. Immediately, the massive alien ship began to drift, its main power systems offline. "Emergency power only," reported the engineering officer. "Weapons and propulsion are disabled." Tusk couldn't believe what was happening. His ship, the pride of the Confederation fleet, disabled by a single shot from a vessel a fraction of its size. But worse news was coming. Reports began flooding in from across Confederation space. Human ships were appearing near their major bases, their supply depots, even in orbit around some of their colony worlds. "How are they in our territory already?" Tusk demanded. The answer came from Admiral Tai himself, who opened a direct channel to Tusk's command room. "While you were studying our public space program, Ambassador, we were studying you. Your patrol routes, your defense systems, your supply lines, even your homeworlds." Tai's aged face showed no joy in this revelation, only determination. "We mapped your entire territory using probes disguised as space debris. We could have struck without warning. But unlike you, we prefer peace to conquest." On view screens across the Confederation, footage appeared showing human vessels in position near critical alien installations. They hadn't fired a shot, but the message was clear. They could. Back on Earth, people watched in awe as news spread of humanity's sudden reversal of fortune. The aliens who had threatened them were now the ones surrounded and powerless. In the UN chamber, Hannah Lee smiled for the first time in months as she addressed the alien diplomats who had once mocked her. "Perhaps now we can discuss equal membership in your confederation," she said. On the Protector, Admiral Ta received reports from across the solar system and beyond. All alien mining operations had been neutralized. The Confederation fleet was contained. "Sir," said Captain G, "we're receiving surrender signals from 14 Confederation vessels." Ta nodded. "Accept them all. Treat their crews with respect." Major Su approached Ta with a private message pad. "Sir, Project Echo reports successful deployment in all targeted Confederation systems. We have ships in position near 5 of their homeworlds." Tai took a moment to absorb this news. For decades, they had prepared for this day, hoping it would never come. Now that it had, their preparation had paid off beyond all expectations. "Send a message to all fleet captains," Tai ordered. "No aggressive actions unless fired upon. We've made our point. Now we negotiate from strength." As the Earth's hidden fleet maintained its positions around the disabled alien ships, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. They were no longer alone in the universe, no longer defenseless, and no longer underestimated. The Great Hall of the Galactic Confederation Council stretched out like a massive bowl. Thousands of seats rose in circles, each filled with a different alien species. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that human minds struggled to understand their forms. In the center of this hall stood Hannah Lee, looking small but standing tall. Behind her was Admiral Tai and a small group of human experts. They had traveled for 2 weeks on a special ship to reach this place, the heart of the Confederation government. The head counselor, a tall being with crystal-like skin, called the emergency meeting to order. The sound echoed through the vast chamber. "We face an unprecedented situation," the head counselor announced. "A species that was evaluated as primitive has revealed military technology that rivals or exceeds our own." Images appeared in the air above the chamber floor. They showed Earth's fleet surrounding the Confederation ships. More images showed human vessels appearing near key Confederation worlds and bases. Many alien representatives whispered to each other. Some showed signs of fear. Others seemed angry. Ambassador Tusk stood to speak. His once proud stance was now stiff with embarrassment. "The humans deceived us," he said. "They showed us outdated technology while hiding their true capabilities. They are dangerous and cannot be trusted." Hannah stepped forward when given permission to speak. Her voice was calm, but carried throughout the chamber thanks to the room's special design. "Humanity has operated in secrecy because we observed how you treat those you perceive as weak," she said. "We monitored your transmissions. We saw how you conquered other worlds and forced them to serve you." She paused to let her words sink in. "We now offer a choice. Recognize Earth as an equal partner with full autonomy, or face a protracted conflict you cannot win." The chamber erupted in noise. Some representatives jumped to their feet, shouting for war. Others called for calm and discussion. A military leader from a warrior species called the Krathor stood up. "We should combine our fleets and crush this human threat before they grow stronger." An older, wiser-looking alien with 6 arms responded, "and risk having our homeworlds targeted by their wormhole technology. They could strike anywhere, anytime." For hours, the debate raged. Hannah and Admiral Ta stood calmly in the center, waiting. They had prepared for this moment for years. Finally, a group of the most powerful species called for a vote. The options were clear. Accept humans as equals, or prepare for war. The voting took nearly a day to complete. Some species took hours to discuss among themselves before deciding. The final tally appeared above the chamber floor. 189 species for peace, 76 for war. The head counselor approached Hannah. "It seems we will be working together rather than fighting, but changes must be made to our structure." Over the next week, a new treaty was written. The old Confederation would become the Galactic Alliance, a partnership of equals rather than a hierarchy of conquerors and servants. Earth would not just join as a member. It would be recognized as a founding member of this new alliance, with all the rights and powers that came with that status. When the final treaty was signed, celebrations broke out on Earth. People who had lived in fear of alien conquest now looked to the stars with hope instead. As the human delegation prepared to return home, Elder Counselor Vex approached Admiral Ta in a quiet hallway. Vex was one of the oldest beings in the galaxy, with skin like ancient bark and eyes that had seen thousands of years pass. "You deceived us all," the ancient alien said. "I have watched 100 species join the Confederation. None have done what you did. How did your kind advance so quickly?" Ta smiled gently. "We didn't. Much of our technology came from studying one of your crashed ships. The rest came from having a single purpose that united our planet's best minds." He looked out a window at the stars before continuing. "The greatest human advantage isn't our technology. It's our understanding that sometimes the best weapon is making others underestimate you." Vex considered this, a lesson the Confederation needed to learn, perhaps. "We grew too comfortable in our power." "And now?" Tai asked. "Now we all adapt," said Vex. "Your strategy worked perfectly, Admiral. You revealed your strength at exactly the right moment. Not too soon to lose the element of surprise, and not too late to be overrun. Ta nodded. We had good teachers, your own history. We studied how the Confederation conquered other worlds. We learned from their mistakes. Before they parted, Vex said one more thing. The galaxy will be watching Earth closely now. As we will be watching the galaxy, Tay replied. When the human delegation returned to Earth, they brought with them knowledge, new allies, and a future very different from what might have been. In the years that followed, human ships began open exploration of nearby star systems. Earth's technology merged with the best the galaxy had to offer. The fear that had gripped humanity when the alien ships first appeared faded into memory. Admiral Tai retired the following year. At his ceremony, he looked out at the new fleet that now operated openly, protecting Earth and human interests throughout the Alliance. We prepared for war, he said in his final speech. But what we achieved was peace, from a position of strength and mutual respect. As night fell on that day, people across Earth looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were no longer alone, no longer helpless against the vastness of space. They had earned their place among the stars by being cleverer, more cautious, and more determined than anyone had expected. The universe had underestimated humanity. It would not make that mistake again.